You can't tell it today.
Me too. There's still stuff everywhere.
You just can't. I can't get it all done. There's Mr. C.
Mr. Chairman, you are not 6 foot away from your spouse there.
Sue me.
Okay, I'm gonna get out of y'all's hair.
Oh, hey, good to see you, Angie. Are you keeping him on the straight and narrow, though?
You know better than that. I wish I could say yes. I try.
Well, good deal. No,
Alright.
Brian just fired this thing up in here, so
That's a full-time
he's
job.
my
I'll say that.
co-pilot here.
I'll,
I don't think you've got a quorum.
Well, I'm looking. He's the only one.
You think
I'm sitting
anybody
here.
else?
I'm sitting here taking. I'm working on my motion sheets while I'm doing this. So that's pretty good. So
Picture in the
that's what I've
background.
been working on. That's what I've been working on for the last little bit. I said I get my motion sheets done, and I'll have them already done. Won't have to worry about it on Thursday.
Javen, tell Angie to come back.
Angie.
Where's Angie? Angie's here.
leave the room so y'all can talk.
You see her?
Oh, sweet.
Hey,
Miss Patterson.
Is that your BFF?
I miss you.
Hey, Miss Bonnie. Hey, sweetie. I like these kind of meetings. Hey, Mr. Curtis.
Hey, Mr. Curtis.
Hey, Riley, how you doing, girl?
She's on me out.
Who that?
That's Mr. Pitt.
Hey, Mr. Pitt.
That's my BFF, I tell you that.
Yeah, that's your BFF, ain't it?
Hi,
I
Angie.
love her. Hello, sweetheart. I miss you. I can't wait till you can come back to the office and work with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's gotta get
Scooby book.
She's got her Scooby book.
Now we gotta show the
Oh, we
game.
got to see the Scooby in the game.
Oh, how sweet.
Nana, can I bring this
Yes.
home?
Tell them bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
See you.
Bye, friendly.
See you, hon.
Mr. Curtis, have you talked to anybody else? Any other board members?
I've been sending several emails this afternoon, but I've not talked to any board members. So you mean
Well-
to say calling via Zoom to all board members? How's that? I'll send that out.
Yes.
Courtney, you shaved.
I did. I got bored.
I trimmed a little bit, but I didn't cut it off yet. It got pretty bad. I got threatened.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I needed to do a change, so I need to get rid of it. So,
Well, I thought the thicker it got, the better it would protect you from corona.
yeah.
See, you touch
Maybe.
your face, it doesn't make skin contact, see?
Well, that makes sense.
It was. I cut it on the high setting and I went to shave it and it filled up the sink. And I was like, oh my goodness, it was bad.
You do not have on your Auburntown shirt.
I do not. I have on my Woodbury shirt.
Okay. All that'll be okay tonight.
I have an East Side shirt I have to wear too. Nobody else has chipped in yet. Mr. Pitts, you're on. I need a Short Mountain shirt.
When you choose proton therapy, you receive highly targeted cancer treatment and experience
Proton therapy. Wow.
both during and after treatment. At ProVision Cares Proton Therapy, we
All right, who we need to get off on proton therapy? I think it's Mr. Moore.
There you go.
There's Bruce. Hey, Bruce, are we live from Huff and Puff?
Yeah.
Hey, I feel lonely in the boardroom.
You don't look lonely.
I do. All right, Nathan is signing in, so we will have a quorum then.
fuse panel is showing there, Mr. Nichols.
I'm sorry, repeat.
Fuse panel is showing.
Your fuse panel behind you, yeah.
Oh, yes.
You got an old fashioned. I don't know how you get that.
Hey, that's a little house there, right there.
That is an original right there. So that probably needs to get upgraded, I'm sure. So
I like the paint though, Courtney. Looks good.
I appreciate it. I'm sorry I'm so sweaty. We just come in from a run. So
That's where I needed to have been.
Big Huff, you look comfortable.
Better hurry up, but my phone may go dead.
Well, plug it up.
Let's see if I got the charger right here. Any chargers out here?
To promoters, to the people who work at venues. The woman does not want to be identified. She feels something needs to change so gig workers can get financial help. Most gig workers that I know are living.
I just wanted to check in.
Reach out to their parents, which is
We got
always
you.
fun when you're somebody either.
Well, that's good.
Or
I don't know why anybody would schedule a meeting on the same night that NCIS is on.
Hey, the budget committee is going to be meeting on our same Thursday night, so hey.
I know. I have two computers, no waiting.
There you
So
go. Two choices there, Doug. Who you'll choose?
well, one's being recorded for playback the next day. We're gonna put it on the air the next day.
Okay.
I still don't have complete remote ability from the house, but I'm getting very close.
Well, Brian will update us on how we're going to do that. We're probably just going to let everybody ready to zoom in, and then we'll record and put it on our website the next day.
Are you talking about your budget committee or the county's budget committee?
Oh, no, ours. We ain't worried about them. We worry about this one over here.
Well, I have to kind of run around like a crazy man, so
We understand.
Well,
theirs is Thursday at, so. I normally skip the workshop and just seem apparently stupid, which is quite natural for me on Thursday nights. So I just wanted to do this test to make sure I could get in and watch. So I'll head out. You guys have a good workshop.
All right, thank you, Douglas.
All right.
Good. This looks really good.
And now all I need to know is figuring out how to get out of here.
Brian can assist you if needed.
Okay.
It says leave meeting.
It says leave meeting there, Doug.
Ah. Hey, I can understand those instructions.
Sayonara. Mr. Chairman, it is 6:33. You do have a quorum.
I hadn't seen Nathan.
Well, you did have. I don't see Bruce though. Where did Bruce go?
Right here.
Okay, there you are. I see you now, Bruce. You're hiding. So there you go, Mr. Chairman. You have a quorum. I've not heard from Travis nor Brian. So
Nathan is signed on. I hadn't seen his picture.
yeah, Nathan is there. Yeah, Nathan is here with his Tennessee hat.
All right.
There you go.
I need to get my hat. I need to go in there and get my Admiral hat on.
We can do without that. There you are. All right, guys. We need to look at our agenda here. I think Mr. Curtis has something that direly needs added.
I do. Before you do that, Mr. Chairman, we do have, get everybody's attention to the TSBA memo about electronic meetings. And we will need to add to the record that this meeting was electronic due to the necessity caused by the coronavirus. So I'll have a statement for you. You'll probably want to read at the beginning of the actual real meeting. That is from TSBA that we're meeting under the provisions of Executive Order number 16, and that we're meeting electronically. It's necessary to protect public health, safety, and welfare in light of the coronavirus. So you'll probably you will need to say that at the front end of the meeting, since it's we're meeting under the provisions of Executive Order number 16.
Okay.
And I will announce Employee of the Month too. We'll have an Employee of the Month. We'll do that virtually.
All right, there was something that you thought we needed added to the agenda, though, another
I
item.
do, Mr. Chairman. If you will, I just sent, I resent an email with the attachment this time of policy number 5.3051. That's a brand new policy dealing with Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And this act will be in effect from April 2nd until December the 31st. But TSBA would very, very much like you to go ahead and act upon this as soon as possible. So we got this right after we sent the agenda out. We received this email just probably an hour after we sent the agenda out. So they did say another email that was sent today that's strongly worded that we go ahead and get this policy into place because it takes effect because of the virus. So I would suggest adding this at number 7 and moving everything down is what I would ask you to do.
All right, is there anything else that we need to put on here? Because communication's been kind of hard. Everybody's flying around trying to get stuff done. You want to brief us on how we're coming along, or you want to wait till your
Wait till we get down to the director's comments, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman.
That's fine. That's fine. All right, the consent agenda. Approve the minutes of the March 12th, 2020 meeting of the board. Approve the bus trips. I don't think we have any bus trips.
There are none. Lisa's shaking her head. There are none. So.
Approve Holly Harwood as non-faculty cheerleading coach.
Mr. Nichols, you want to speak on that? You'll have to unmute there, Mr. Nichols.
Yes, sir. I was trying to hit the button there. Holly Hardwood, I've interviewed a couple of people, and ideally what I would like to have is a faculty staff representative or a coach for cheerleading. Unfortunately, I did not have anyone that really wanted to do that on a full-time basis. I did have Lacey Eckert, who said that she would be the liaison that would take care of all the financial needs and have a go-to person for our cheerleaders on staff. So that's why there's a combination of both of them. Lacey Eckert, which is the English teacher at Kenneck County High School, she is of that, and she's just going to do, collection of monies and permission forms, those type of things. And then the actual coach will be Holly Harwood, who's been currently coaching at Woodbury Grammar for the last several years.
That covered C and D.
And Mr. Chairman, Holly does have a current background check that was done just a couple years ago, so she is valid on her background check and all of that. So.
All right. What about Lacey?
Lacey is an employee. She is an employee, so none needed there.
Okay. All right. Anybody got any questions? Nathan, Bruce?
I'm good.
I'm good.
All right. Approve the staff development committee for 2020 and 2021.
Mr. Chairman, you have in your packet the staff development committee, planning committee that has been asked to approve. Dr. Milton, you want to unmic and or unmute and talk about your staff development committee?
Sure, this is just a routine thing that we do every year. We didn't have very many new members, as you can see on the agenda or on the attachment, that most of the members on the committee are in their second year already. We just needed a couple of replacements for people either moved schools or positions or things like that. So we're just updating that. We do that every spring.
Looks like a good group of people.
It is a good group of people. They come together and help us plan, and at their school level and at the district level. We really haven't had to do a whole lot of work, this committee. They've actually gotten it easy for the last few years because the State Department has rolled out so much training with standards and other things that there hasn't been as much need for local in-services. We have so many in staff development, but looking forward to next year, we know that you may or may not know that there's an early literacy for K2 being rolled out by the State Department. So we're going to have a lot of training on that. I'd like to address the board on that sometime, but some of those things aren't being rolled out until later here in April. But all of our K1 and 2 teachers, pre-K, will be expected to be trained on that. So I'd like to get some information to you so you know what that looks like from the State Department.
All right, do you want to be put on the agenda then?
Yeah, for May, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
And I can do that in the workshop only if you'd like. Let me go ahead and put that on the calendar and for the updates, unless you want it at the meeting. So.
Okay, that's all I have on the staff development committee, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Curtis, I have something real quick on that. I'm going to go ahead and address the elephant in the room. Is it my understanding that we do have to have one person from each school on this committee?
We always have done that. So I know you addressed that to the chair. He may not know that. So the answer, did I leave somebody off?
No. In light of the situation that Mr. Curtis has made us aware of at Short Mountain, I was just wondering if that was in fact the best choice at Short Mountain, or if you all had some conversations and there was maybe another choice there.
We can look at that if you'd like. As Mr. Curtis will always say, we always take the recommendation of the principal. So if it comes to that we need to make a substitution, that's not a big deal. We've usually just let y'all know and moved along. So, but I'll be happy to entertain anything that you'd like to suggest.
Marcia, could I ask who I turned in?
I'm looking it up too. I forgot to bring the list with me. So
Jessica Bryson is who was nominated from Short Mountain.
Oh.
Got Heather Rowell from Cannon County High School, Connie Phillips from Eastside, Jessica Bryson at Short Mountain, Wendy Gentry at Westside, Heather Myers at Woodbury Grammar, and Amber Phillips at Woodland.
And then you'll notice on the right side are just other positions. They're not lined up really well. I must have hit the button before I lined them up really well.
Got central office staff, Mr. William F. Curtis, Kathy Mullins, Audrey James, Bonnie Patterson, Miss Marsha Melton, CTE, Crystal Kennedy, Pyle and Sped, Melissa Killian and Alice Parker, pre-K, Christy Moon, instructional coaches Stephanie Alexander and Stacy Bryson, and RTI coach Angie Fan.
you want me to hold off? We don't have to approve this now. Would you like me to hang on and revisit this at the May meeting? Or at the June meeting? You think that's a better time?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, you know, I'd like to at least hear from Mr. Curtis a little more, and maybe even Mr. Pitts if he recommended her. You know, there's enough other very qualified, very good group, as already been mentioned, but I do have some concerns. And I don't know the specifics, but I just know in conversation with Mr. Curtis that that name has come up. But that's just me. So I'm just speaking for one board member, and I wanted to put it out there. But as we say in collaborative conferencing, you know, I can live with it if the rest of the board is okay with it. And if you all have talked to Mr. Pitts about it, or I know you said the principals had recommended that. So I know Mr. Pitts has experience in this, so you know I do trust his recommendation as well. But just a little concerning there. But I'll go with whatever the board would like to do.
Nathan, I know that you've done this long enough that if you want to, you know, take it out of the consent agenda, you can definitely do that, and then just table it to May or June. If we're able to, we will probably start having some, if not face-to-face meetings, some meetings like this with that committee as soon as possible, because as I said before, with that early literacy training and some things like that to see an ELA adoption, we'll need some training for that. So how all that looks over the summer too. And I don't have the approved calendar in front of me, but I think teachers only really have like two, let's see if I've got it here, 2 self-selected days in this next year calendar. I'll pull that up while y'all are talking.
Of this committee, Marcia or Freddie, whoever wants to answer. I know we voted on it, but I'm not exactly sure what it's for. Do they work on the district plan, or do they?
No, it's well, indirectly, I guess they do, because it's the professional development that teachers do. Yeah. So it's 2-part. What they do at the district level is we all meet and we do a sort of a temperature take of the whole district about needs and things. But like I said, we really haven't had to do a whole lot because of the state rollout and mandates that they're having. And then they assist their principal at the school level in any school level in-service or professional development with us too. If you want to see what an in-service plan looks like, I know the math department at the high school, they always do some summer work and they create their own plans in collaboration with one another and with our instructional coach. And so they always turn in a really good plan. And the art teachers are really, really good at planning some good in-service and professional development for their group. Now, the other specialty groups like Miss James for special ed, or Miss Black for the secretaries and transportation, you know, we don't necessarily bring those folks in, even though we have a representative on those teams, but they plan out their in-service based on the needs, what the data shows us, like the district does also. But you're right, it does impact our district plan. We usually take the district plan, which is taking the data, just like that data walk we took y'all through a couple of nights, and say, okay, where are the areas of need? And then we share that with the teachers.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything they want to say about that? All right, let's move on to number 3. Approve the central office sidewalk bid, and that is paid by a grant. I guess that's Tennessee Risk Management.
It is, Mr. Chairman. Tennessee Risk Management is the one who is getting the funding for this, and they're doing it mainly because they insure the county and the school board.
How much was the grant?
$19,000 was the grant that we received. We'll talk about that when we get down to the budget amendment. That was $19,000, and we figured that, budgeted $12,000. Bonnie worked on that, and we budgeted $12,000 for the sidewalk and $3,000, or what was that, Bonnie? $8,000 for the door. Is that right? You want to unmute? I don't see Bonnie. There she is. There she is.
I'm here. My phone is being crazy. I've had to hide from Eddie. Sorry. The door is around 7,000 to 8,000. We allocated 12 for the sidewalk. It came under bid at 11,500, right, Mr. Curtis?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
So we have a little extra there, but he'll probably discuss about what we might do with that little extra on the sidewalk for a handicap space closer to our office. I'm excited about the door and very thankful we were able to get the money to do the project.
And the door was under the $10,000, so we didn't have to bid that out. All Glass is going to be putting that in. They're still waiting something on the metal, and that can be installed immediately. So that's,
and it will have a push button capability, yes. And that's going to make a world of difference for.
How much was the door?
Around 7 to 8. The door itself was $3,000, and then adding the electronic piece to it doubled the price.
So if it comes,
but that'll be good. It'll be ADA, all ADA. And one thing we talked about, I had a brief meeting with Mayor Andy Duggan, and he does not want any ramp going out into the parking space. So they're going to repaint those spaces, which I'll be glad, because you don't know if you're getting in a space hardly or not getting in a space out there right now. So they're going to be repainting that, the city is, and they will be painting, this will be a handicap van accessible space, and it'll have, but what he would like is that indention in the sidewalk, and we have permission to, demolish that sidewalk in that one spot there that comes up, the closest one to the building, and the closest space there will be designated as van access. And we will have the handicap signage put up there, as well as the painted stripes and whatever. It'll be the exact width that the law requires. So I'm looking forward to that too. So we'll probably use the extra $5 to put the indentions. It's kind of like over at the library. If y'all have ever been in front of the Adams Library on College Street, if you see how that indention goes down, and it's even with the pavement. That's exactly what the mayor wants. He does not want a ramp going out into, even though it'd be just a little bit of concrete going out into that parking space. So he's Dewey warned me about that. So we will try to have them to do the sidewalk the same way and use that extra $500, particularly on that part of the project. So I'm excited for it. The county executive and the commission likes it because they're not having to spend out any money. And we get a new sidewalk in the front of the Cannon County Adams office building. And Tennessee Risk Management wanted to do that. Bonnie had some good conversations with them about what to put exactly in the grant. And I was told they gave us that grant because they serve the county and the Board of Education, both. So that's good. Next time we'll use that same wording next year for something that we need done. Bonnie, anything else that I missed on that?
No, it also includes the concrete in front of the door. So there'll be a slope there. So we will no longer have water retained there.
That's good. No more wet roads.
Yeah, that old carpet there, it got slick at times, especially if it had a little ice on it. It was slick. We had 2 or 3 about to fall. We've got a nice rug out there right now, which is doing a real good job.
All right. Anybody else got anything? No. All right. Item number 4, approve roofing contract with Porter Roofing, excuse me. Trying to read off what I got printed in my phone.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, on the roofing contract, this has been a work in progress for over a month now. We have gone back and forth between Porter's lawyers and our lawyer, and we reached an agreement late last week finally. And the attorney for Porter, Mr. Kaysen, has gone through it. We had a big disagreement, a major disagreement that our attorney, Mr. Jennings, and Porter's attorney, Mr. Kaysen, was in regarding if there's problems with the contract, who decides. Porter wanted to do arbitration, and our attorney recommended litigation in a Cannon County court. So Porter did cave on that, and we won that argument, and we will be, you will find the word litigation in a Cannon County court if there is a dispute in anything in this contract. This is a standard contract. Gregor Smee was in charge of writing this up. The AIA approved, and so all of this has been looked at by Porter and looked at by us, and it's a good agreement. And like I say, both sides have looked at it. Our insurance folks have looked at it. Everybody is in agreement, and we are good to go. So as soon as this is signed, and if the governor tells us that we will not be in school the rest of this year, and he recommends that, then I will get my next call as soon as I hear those words is to Gregor to get the project underway at our 3 schools, particularly the high school, because the earlier we get to this at the high school, the quicker that they can get done into August. So if we get to it quick enough, they can get everything done between now and August, which would be very, very good news. Probably the best news out of the pandemic that I've heard. So if that occurs, then this contract will, when you approve it, then we will send that word, and we will get the signatures on there between us and Porter, and then we will execute, and they can start moving as quickly as possible.
33 pages.
It's a bunch. Welcome to legalities.
That's what I said. That's why I wanted Mr. Curtis to talk for a change.
I remember that, Mr. Sanders.
Hey, I said I wanted you to talk, so it's all good.
Oh, but this thing has been looked at with a fine-tooth comb by our attorney and their attorney, and if their attorney and our attorney can agree, I think it's good to go.
All right, anybody got any questions? Take you a while to read 33 pages. All right, item number 5, then approve budget amendments number 4 and number 5.
Mr. Chairman, Board, a budget amendment number 4, Cannon County High School received a $3,009 AAA Auto Club grant. So Mr. Nichols might want to speak on that grant, or Bonnie can speak on that they received this grant, and this is just verification that we have got the line item in our health services budget line item to increase $72,120,499 for supplies and materials to increase revenue. I like that phrase, increase revenue. So Bonnie, you and Courtney want to speak on that grant y'all got from AAA?
We actually wrote it last year and did not get approval, and then all of a sudden I got an email saying they had extra money and they wanted to fund us, and it's for these goggles that when you put them on you feel like you're DUI kind of goggles. The SROs wanted those to do some classes with students, especially around prom time, on driving impaired. Impaired vision goggles, that's what they're called. Courtney, you got anything else to add?
Well, we had we were setting it up for right before the week of prom, and was going to have an obstacle course. We were going to get the golf cart from Woodbury Police Department, and was just going to set up an obstacle course with this impaired driving goggles. The goggles are actually in the office right now, so they have been delivered, and so we're just waiting on getting to use them at this point. So.
That sounds good. Number 5 is the 19,000. That's just dealing with the sidewalk and the doors.
Like I said, Mr. Chairman, the commission ought to love us. It's an increase in revenue by $19,000 due to the Tennessee Risk Management Grant that is going toward the sidewalks in front of the Cannon County Adams office building.
All right. Anybody got any questions?
And the door, of course.
Okay. Approved policies 1.8011 and 5.1151.
Mr. Chairman, this is on policy number 1.8011, emergency closings. You can see our current policy in your packet, and you can perceive they left the first part alone, lines 1 through 7 pretty well. They left it, you know, done there, complete. You can see if due to snow or inclement weather. They've added some wording there in lines 7 and through 9. If school's not in session or is dismissed early due to snow or inclement weather, the director of schools, in consultation with the principals of the impacted schools shall determine if all scheduled activities in which students are involved shall be postponed or canceled. Okay, and then employee responsibilities, all of that has been added as part of the TSBA's recommendation. I can read that if you want me to read that. That paragraph, you want me to read that, Mr. Chairman, or not?
I'm reading it, but if you'd like to read it, go right ahead.
All right, in the event of an emergency that requires closure of a school building, groups of schools, or the entire district, the director of schools is authorized to continue to pay employees who are not able to physically report for duty as a result. These employees shall receive their regular wages. Such payment shall not exceed the number of days budgeted for each employee. During such emergencies, the director of schools may designate certain employees as essential. Such employees shall work as directed by the director of schools, whether that is by physical appearance at work or teleworking under policy 5.1151. Essential employees must use leave to be excused from work, absent, special permission as determined by the director of schools / designee. So there is 1.8011. Now that policy references 5.1151. I'll wait for questions in regarding to 1.8011. Okay, if I can proceed, Mr. Chairman.
You can.
Okay, there is no current policy in 5.1151. This is brand new. And it talks about telework during emergencies. That's the first time I've ever heard the term telework, but guess what? We're teleworking right now. You're doing that. So teleworking is a work arrangement general. Teleworking is a work arrangement where designated employees are allowed to perform their normal duties and responsibilities to the use of hardware and software at an alternate location from their normal work site. The director of schools may require an employee to telework if the duties and responsibilities of the position are required during times of emergency. An employee's participation in the program will be determined by the length and duration of the emergency and will be both initiated and ended at the discretion of the supervisor and or the director of schools. Work environment. Employees approved for telework shall maintain a dedicated and safe work environment. An employee who teleworks shall not allow anyone other than district employees to utilize district-provided services or equipment. Employees shall keep remote work and information confidential in accordance with district policies, procedures, and applicable privacy laws. And you can see the cross references there. It cross references back to 1.8011 and 1.8011. You can see the cross references there of TCA 49-6-3004 E and 1, and then also the Emergency Preparedness Plan 3.202 and telework during emergency 5.1151. So a lot of cross references on that. But this is TSBA ask us to get on these policies pronto.
All right, anybody got any questions? Mr. Daniel, you good?
Yeah.
All right, Nathan, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Let's move on to review policies 6.100 through 6.319.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, if the board elects to insert proposed policy 5.3051, I'd like to speak on that for a minute.
Okay.
Okay, proposed policy, if this is inserted, I think this would be the correct place to insert this into the agenda. The proposed policy 5.3051, and then again, I asked to do this. This is due to the time frame regarding the new suggested policy revision from TSBA. So if you look at my amended email, you can see this is FFCRA leave. And under the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, FFCRA, this policy will be in effect from April the 2nd, 2020 until December 31, 2020. The Director of Schools shall post notice of FFCRA requirements and create any necessary administrative procedures. Employees shall seek clarification, and from it says insert title of employee. That will be Ms. Shannon Bacon. So they seek clarification from Ms. Shannon Bacon if they have questions regarding the total amount of leave and pay available to them. Paid sick leave. Employees are entitled up to 2 weeks of paid sick leave if they are unable to work or telework because the employee, 1, is subject to a federal, state, or local quarantine or isolation under order, related to COVID-19. 2, has been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine related to COVID-19. 3, is experiencing COVID-19 symptoms and is seeking a medical diagnosis. 4, is caring for an individual subject to or advised to quarantine or isolate due to COVID-19. The individual must be someone with a personal relationship to the employee. 5, is caring for his/her son or daughter whose school or place of care is closed, or person who regularly provides child care is unavailable for reasons related to COVID-19, or no other suitable person is available to care for the child during the requested period of leave. Son or daughter is defined as a biological, adopted, or foster child, a stepchild, a legal ward, or a child of a person stated in loco parentis who is under 18 years of age or 18 years of age or older, who is incapable of self-care because of a mental or physical disability. Or 6, is experiencing any other substantially similar condition specified by the Secretary of Health and Human Services in consultation with the Secretaries of Labor and Treasury. Now, this goes on for another page and a half, Mr. Chairman, so you can look at that. This is newly adopted right out of Washington. So this is not a state deal. This is right out of Washington in regard to expanded FMLA leave. So any questions about that?
Well, it's extremely specific. Can to COVID-19. I will say that. Are you going to be able to adapt it if something else comes along, or are they going to stick something else in place?
Well, this one is said, this includes employees who were laid off or terminated after March 1, who had worked for the district at least 30 days or prior 60-day calendar days and were substantially rehired or subsequently rehired or otherwise employed by the district. So that one talks about, I don't think you could do that because this is expanded FMLA leave due to the FFCRA. So if you've got somebody currently under the current leave that we have, FMLA, then you could expand that for an additional 30 calendar, well, actually another 2 weeks is what you would have. Qualifying employees may take 12 weeks of EFLEA leave. So the amount of leave available may be impacted by any prior use of FMLA. So,
and I completely understand children that have mental or physical disabilities, but 18? I mean, you've got 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids that can't take care of themselves? Really?
You'll have to ask the feds about that, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I mean, if they have a physical or mental disability, I completely understand that. But come on now, you 16-year-old, you put them in a car to drive and you've got to stay at home to take care of them? I don't know. That's, wow. Okay. Anybody got any questions? Nobody? All right, let's go on to the safety report.
Well, Mr. Chairman, you got your, excuse me, you still got your deal there about your policy 6.100 to 6.319.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We have reviewed that. And we've looked at that. We've looked at that in our supervisors meeting and our district leadership meeting too. So we have already looked at that, sir.
Anybody have a comment on it?
You got half of the student portion this month and the rest of the student in May, the section 6 in May. And you can see this is the revised one. It's got all the revised dates from when we did all the policy work in 19.
All right. Anybody got anything? Nathan, Bruce?
I'm good. Let's go.
Okay. Number 8.
Safety report, Ms. Bonnie.
All right. Very quickly, when this all started, we were on lots of webinars with the state, and I had a webinar a couple of weeks ago with Brenna Morris and Mike Herman from Safe Schools Division of the Department of Ed. They are actually housed in TEMA's office now. They're no longer working they're still under the Department of Education, but they're in the office of TEMA. And they went around the state and had regional conference calls and took notes and asked each individual county what was going on and how they could help us. We had already started our feeding programs, and we were running low on bags to put food in. We had made a decision. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Jennifer Insell and her cafeteria staff. And I know Mr. Curtis is going to talk about that later, but they've been remarkable in feeding our kids in our county. But anyway, we had put into place, by following CDC guidelines, temperature checks, asking those 3 vital questions about exposure to COVID. And so when we made our report, Cannon County made their report, we were ahead of the game of anyone in the Upper Cumberland. After we had told them what we were doing, The very next week, Warren County changed some of their practices. Some other counties also got on board with some of the things that we were doing. So I just want to give a shout outs to people who have really been above and beyond. They told us to reach out to our local EMA for any supplies that we may need. We also have the safety toolkit where we are recording any kind of supplies such as temperature probes, gloves, those types of things that we're having to use from our school supplies for hopefully federal reimbursement. We'll see about that later on. But they told us to reach out to Roy Sullivan, our EMA director, and he could push any of our needs up to TEMA. So we reached out to Roy that next day or that day, and within a matter of hours, we got a reply, and he was able to get us the bags that we needed for our food distribution, and also has provided us with masks for our employees that are actually working that. So there's a lot of communication going on between the state offices and our county offices, and we're working as a team. And that is so, it just makes me feel good that we're all working together and there's not any bickering and we're getting things done. We did debrief. We've decided as a district leadership team that we need to debrief once this is kind of over or getting close to being over about what has been good practice and what has not been good practice, because after any emergency you need to come back to the table and talk about what we should have done and what we did well. And so we need to change our safety plans to include pandemics in our emergency plans. We do have some things in the plan that we were able to use, but it was a big, broad, it didn't say pandemic. So I know that Brenna and the team at the state will be working on getting us some clarification and updating our safety plans and navigate. We've talked about the handicap door. The video entrance boxes are on hold right now because of some cabling issues. Our AEDs are on hold, of course, because no one's in their buildings to be able to order this right now. And one other shout out, our SROs are working at all our food sites. They're rotating around. And the nursing home reached out to us. We've had the hospital, Ascension Health, reached out to us, and our local nursing home reached out. They were running critically low on hand sanitizers and Clorox wipes. And so I gave a all call to our principals, and this is how great our team is. Our principals went into their buildings and asked teachers if they had any hand sanitizers in their classroom that they could give up for right now to help the nursing home out. And we delivered those, and I got a message. We didn't go in. We rang the doorbell, and they came to the door and got them. And I got a message right after that, and it said that the nurses actually cried when they got the supplies. So we've got a lot of people stepping up and helping our residents, and it's a terrible situation that we're in, but we can always find good. And so there's some good to be found. And that's it.
That's really good. Good news. Thank you. All right, Mr. Curtis.
Well, y'all want the edited version or not? This has been, I keep using the word unprecedented, and unlike anything I've ever seen before in my 34 years in education. I don't think Mr. Pitts has seen anything like this at all. None of us have. And this is just one for the books. And the thing is, you keep using the word ever evolving. And I listened to the governor's press conference. So here's my day normally. the last few weeks. It's been like today on Tuesday, usually on Monday, I will receive the commissioner's webinar at 1 p.m., the governor's press conference or update at 3 p.m., and the president's update or press conference at 5 p.m. That's been going on for the past couple of weeks. That's on Mondays. On Tuesdays, we have been meeting, our district leadership team has been meeting at 8:30 on Tuesday. And then there's usually a press conference again by the governor at 3 and the president at 5. The same thing happens on Wednesday that happened on Monday. Is usually there's a commissioner's webinar is at 1, and the governor's press conference is at 3, the president's is at 5. The same thing on Thursdays, except on Thursdays we have our district leadership meeting at 1 in the afternoon on Thursdays. That gives principals time to do what they need to do in the morning on Thursday. And then we meet at the district leadership meeting meets at 1 on that. And then the governor's press conferences updates at 3, the president's at 5. So we've been doing that again that is the new normal, if there is such a word or such a phrase. So every day there has been updates and things we've had to change. We've been meeting with principals. Like I say, district leadership meeting is all supervisors and principals. We've been Zooming in now and not meeting in the same room. And so the last day that our students were actually in our buildings was March the 13th. And here we are. Here and nearly a month later, and it seems like a lifetime ago that where we had students. Our feeding program has been doing great. So with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call on Ms. Jennifer Insell to talk about our feeding program, if that's appropriate, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Insell.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Our feeding program has been doing great. It's been a learning curve. I tell Mr. Curtis every day, we are now the students, and every day I've had to learn to do my job a different way, which is a challenge, and I've loved it. We have seen great increase in our numbers since the first day. I think Mr. Curtis has shared with you on Google Drive or the spreadsheet I created just to keep a comparison of how we're doing daily. So just quickly, on the first day, we served 457 students and 1,828 meals. So at first we were doing Mondays, we gave 3 meals, and on Thursday we gave 2. So by a couple of days of that, I was like, okay, I need to limit my exposure with employees. You know, they're hearing on TV too, what everybody else is. And also I have the unique, most of my employees are 50 plus, so a lot of them feel at greater risk. So, and plus I want to limit all for all staff and families. So on this Monday, which was packet pickup 2, and I knew it was going to be crazy, and it was, we served 889 students, and we gave out 8,890 meals. So most of my ladies fixed about 1,000 sandwiches. If you've never done that, it's just great fun and something I'll never forget as long as I live. But they've never complained, and they want to do it, and they're positive about it. So we did have the issue we've had is I'm preparing for Thanksgiving every day, and I never know who's coming to my table. So that's been a learning curve. I'm also trying to be responsible with our budget and stay within the norms of that, because I am still paying employees, but we are receiving reimbursement. So those big days, they're great for us because we got a lot of reimbursement that day because we're being reimbursed on the free rate for breakfast and lunch for everyone. So more numbers is not a bad thing, but we need to be prepared for those. So Monday, I have worked every day to make sure and been in IWC's ear that we get everything we need. My problem this week was I got shorted on a bunch of things, so we felt that Monday. IWC's laid off 60 employees and their drivers, So they're only coming to Woodbury on Fridays. So I respect that, and well, there's just nothing we can do unless I go to Cookville and get it, which we've done twice. So it's a great success, and I think the central office and Mr. Curtis has supported me, and I thank them very much for that. Anything I've asked for, it's happened. Our community has supported us, and it's been a good thing. Families are enjoying it, I think.
How are we on supplies, Jennifer?
Right now, I don't have a lot of food. I gave it all out Monday, but Friday we will be replenished. The thing I'm seeing an issue with right now are bags for us to put enough food in for 5 days. We're having to get creative with that. Roy said I should have another stock of bags in. I talked to him today. He's been great to food, school nutrition. Anything I've asked of him, the answer's been yes. So bags, putting everything in disposables is an increased cost for me, plus everybody in the state's using that stuff. So IWC is catching up with that and kind of giving us estimates each week of what I think I'll need the next week. Because to their defense, they have boxes and boxes of chicken nuggets and pizza sitting in their warehouse that they've stocked for us because that's what we typically order. But now we're not. We're ordering PB&J and Snack Pack Carrot. It's just totally changed their operation too. And they've had a decrease in restaurant business, which is affect them in another way. So they're a great company and we're working with them closely and they're getting us what we need. But I never know from week to week. Sometimes I don't get what I need. And I have to move a lot of stuff around. My van is a caravan. If you see it going somewhere, it's got food in it for somebody. So for a school, because we have to just move around what we have. But we'll get it, hopefully. But it's a struggle.
Thank you, Jennifer. You need to thank your staff and everything. I'd say the whole board's with me on that. We really appreciate what they're doing. It's an amazing thing you guys have put together.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. I will relay that to them. And they have servant hearts and they're glad to do it. But thank you for saying that. I will relay that to them.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything they want to ask Jennifer or talk to her about?
If anybody asks me what I need gallon-sized bags and Ziploc bags. So if you have anything like that, or anybody says, "Hey, how can we help?" just give them my number. I had a woman call me from Florida today that used to live here, and she wanted to do something to help. So I need that kind of stuff. That would help more than anything. If you get that question.
Curtis, do you have anything else?
I would like to say kudos to the.
Boys, I'm going to have to check. I got to catch a phone call here. Y'all go ahead.
All right, we're about done anyway. So.
All right, I got to get you.
All right.
But kudos to the cafeteria staff. They've really been great troopers through this whole thing to do. And they've come in and they've not missed a beat. Jennifer has asked some of those that have some pre-existing conditions or conditions that she's been concerned about that they not participate. Other counties around us have been struggling with this as well. So, but I think ours has really come to do it. And kudos to our principals who have been working where our instructional piece of this, the delivery of instruction in multiple facets, multiple different directions and ways. Our principals have been great. They have been great about getting food because we were concerned about these needy families who can't drive in. And our principals have been outstanding, as well as Jennifer and others in the food service have been outstanding to go. Lisa Black and Jennifer and principals of getting food to those people that we need to get it to. So Angela, you might want to speak on that. The principal or Mr. Nichols or one on getting the stuff to our kids. Angela, if you would.
Okay. Kudos to Jennifer and her team. They've been fabulous. And it worked very well doing the 5 meals on Monday. We were busy. with 220 kids served, but we had probably 300 that picked up packets, or close to 300. We had a lot. It went really well. Teachers are working through the week making packets, and I have teachers and assistants making phone calls to all of our students, and we're trucking along the best we know how.
I see Connie has joined us. Connie, would you like to see how the East Side response has been?
I really appreciated Jennifer moving it to 1 day a week to limit exposure. I worry about that for my situation at home. So I appreciate anything we can do to limit our exposure, staff exposure, and the exposure of our families. It went well too at Eastside, given, you know, distributing 5 days worth of food. Jennifer, one question. Have we reached out to the church that does the backpack program? Do they know?
He just called me actually while we've been on this meeting, and they are aware, and she's going to deliver our church bags on Monday morning to
Right.
Yes. So, and that was, I didn't reach out to her on Monday. That did slip my mind, and I apologize to her. Today I called her, and it was fine. So we'll have more to offer on Monday, right, Angela?
Yeah, she's gonna do like our school delivery on Monday morning.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pitts, would you like to say about the Short Mountain response?
Oh, we had a wonderful response last Monday. We had 119 people to come through the line for food. We had 97% of the parents pick up the packets, homework packets. I kept the doors open from 6 to 7 p.m. for those that could not come that morning. And we had a great response.
You had 97%?
97%, yes. And no one's coming tomorrow, so it might be 98% by tomorrow. But he missed the invitation somehow, but he's coming tomorrow.
That's impressive, Mr. Pitts.
It is, yeah.
My rate was not that high, Mr. Pitts. Man, you're rocking that.
Yeah.
The Dean's touch. He's got it.
You're gonna have to make it.
You feed them, they'll come, right?
That rate.
I was very proud of that, yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I could go another direction here just for a second. We did have some major storms move through the area last Saturday night, really early Sunday morning. We had some major winds and hail in the Woodland area, and then that moved toward the Short Mountain area. Dr. Melton's son, this is the house of her mother's that her son is living in, had a big tree fall on it. We did have some tree damage at Short Mountain. There were some damages at Woodland too. On our sign, our traffic sign got blew down on the north side of the campus. And so that will have to be replaced. And we found out today there was some possible hail damage to AC units on the top of Woodland School. So we're going to ask the adjuster from Tennessee Risk Management to come back to Cannon County and to evaluate those AC units and the roof at Woodland. Another thing at Short Mountain, we received some damage on trees on the outlying property. If you don't know how Short Mountain is, they have, 80, 90 foot pine trees that line the exterior part of the campus there. They are trees. So I do want you to know that. One of those trees had a top blow out of the top of that pine tree and land on a house. It's a tiny house occupied by one of my former students. It did do damage to their house. And it's a wonder because you got 2 big pine trees. If the house is right here, the pine trees were leaning toward that house. It's a wonder those pine trees had not fallen on that. The Lord was really looking over us because if just a little bit, they would have gone over and just decimated that tiny house. But we will have to, our insurance company is currently evaluating that. I met with the adjuster there on Monday, Mr. Pitts and I did, and I took some pictures on that too that I should be glad to share with the board. And that was major. Like I say, those trees, we've got 2 or 3 big, large trees, probably 80 foot in length, that are now hit the old woven wire fence and come down on the property that is to the east of the campus of Short Mountain. So I'm going to get Middle Tennessee Electric to look at some of those other pines, because, but for the grace of God, there's a trailer up there where Miss Victoria Harmon lives, and those trees were, I mean, dead center. If that wind had been just a little bit more angled, those trees would have come down upon that trailer. So what we'd like to see, and they're fairly, you know, they're close enough, if you get a northeastern wind, we could possibly come in over the power lines that run right across the playground area at Short Mountain. So I'm going to get, after that thing settle down a little bit, I'll get Middle Tennessee Electric out there to look at those and see if they will dispose of a few more of those pine trees, particularly those near that trailer that could topple onto electric lines. But we're going to have to remove those, and again, their insurance adjuster, Mr. Harold Henderson of Tennessee Risk Management, has given us a preliminary proposal. We thought there was some hail damage on Woodbury Grammar, but it was not probably from this hailstorm, but another hailstorm at some point in the metal part of the roof of Woodbury Grammar. So that's currently being evaluated to see if we need to do any metal reclamation at Woodbury Grammar School. So that storm gave us considerable damage in our school district. Nothing structural, nothing major. We had some gutter problems, I think, at Short Mountain too, that our maintenance staff will be looking at. What that wind did, that wall of wind, it was a microburst. And what that wall of wind did on our gutters, it hit some of our schools. And what it did is lifted the gutters up slightly. So there was some gutter damage also at West Side that we had. And so our gutters are going to have to probably be some definite work on our gutters probably throughout the system. Woodbury Grammar suffered some stuff too. So you know, some schools, Auburn, no damage. East Side, miraculously, no damage at East Side, but all the rest of the schools. Don't think we had any at the high school on that, but our gutters really took a hit with this last storm. So, Mr. Pitts, you wanted to say something on your damage at Short Mountain?
They have taken care of our gutter problem up here.
Okay, so our gutters have been fixed now,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
and so Mr. Pitts has been having some problem with some water coming in, seeping through the foundation, but we think we've got that fixed.
Yes.
As of now, Mr. Pitts has been working, and crew have been working up there to address that problem with drainage there in the front of Short Mountain that was coming up under the foundation into classrooms. But so hopefully we've got that fixed. Angela, you want to talk about the damage at Woodland?
Yes. So it got our caution light and on the left side there, and then also we had some hail damage to the new unit, and then possibly some others, some gutter damage, and then quite a bit of damage to the skirting around the portables, and some of the ramps to the portables were damaged. The fence out front, it took down part of it, and I think that's it.
So we skirted one, guys, ladies and gentlemen, we skirted one there with those storms. So even though we did receive, you know, some damage, it could have been a whole lot worse had that been tornadic. You know, you get 100-mile-an-hour gust. Our weather station at top of the top of Short Mountain, we just put that up there a couple of weeks ago, and that recorded a 69-mile-an-hour gust. And then there was a gust at our weather station at the high school that recorded a 59-mile-an-hour gust. So the wind was coming, and so we were extremely fortunate that we didn't have any more damage than what we had. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. I think that's enough.
I got one question.
Storms and pandemic.
Probably goes to you and Audrey. Nathan, you still with us? Nathan gone?
No, he's there. I see him there. Nathan, there he is.
I'm still here.
You got anything you want to ask?
I don't have anything right now.
I got a question for, I guess, you and Audrey, Mr. Curtis. Have we done anything for our special ed students since how the packets have gone out for regular students? Did y'all figure out any way to?
Yeah, I'll let Audrey, we talked about that. Our IEP team meetings are still underway. We're doing those during teleconferencing with parents, mainly using telephone. And kudos to our special education teachers. Our district leadership meeting today, Emily Hancock at Woodbury Grammar talked about how really those special ed teachers are really working double time. And what I mean by that is that those teachers are doing IEP team meetings, and then they're turning around and having to do individualized instructional packets going out to their students. So kudos to our special ed teachers that are not only, and then they're making sure that other things are happening too. So Audrey, if you would give the board members a report regarding special ed's response to the COVID-19.
Absolutely. They have worked really, really hard. As Mr. Curtis said, they had to continue with the IEP meetings, the reeval meetings, TEIS, which is the Tennessee Early Childhood that refers students. We've continued to have those meetings. We've done those through the Bridge Conference that Brian set up there at the office, and Zoom, because a lot of our families don't have internet access, so we use both. We've been in meetings from 8 o'clock to about 7 at night sometimes, just to meet the family's needs. And then the teachers have done a wonderful job of calling the parents and seeing what they felt their need is at home, because sometimes the need at home is very different from what it is in the school. They've worked with the gen ed teachers to make accommodations to all of those gen ed packets. Our students are either on TeachTown Basics, which is a computer program that we use as an intervention for our very low students. We have worked with that company and got those students home access to that now. And we've also got them TeachTown Life Social Skills, which is an online program that they're able to do at home for those that have social skill issues. And then we also have SLP Assist, which is our speech language pathologists that are using, some of them are doing teletherapy. We've got teachers that are videoing themselves doing the interventions, and they are working with those kids daily. I mean, they are really, and we have a large number of students who don't have internet access. So that means in addition to videoing themselves and doing all that, they are also putting together intervention packets and calling them and helping them work through them. So they have worked tirelessly hours. They're exhausted. Spoke to several of them today, and they're tired. But they are troopers and they want to meet the students' needs. They're doing a really good job. Even our OT and PT are putting together packets, suggestions and things that the parents can do with them as well, so that they don't lose those skills. And that's what we've got to be careful of. Communication with our parents is the most important thing, because if they feel like the students that we're working with them and providing them the services that they need, and the students are not losing their skills, then when we get back to school, we're hoping they do not ask us for compensatory services. And what that is where we have to make up every hour of services that the students have missed since school closed. So they're doing everything that they possibly can to keep that from being an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, I have one other thing while she was talking that made me think. We have been in communication with Upper Cumberland directors. I had a conference call with them on Friday, supposedly my day off, but I had a conference call with them of about an hour and a half on Friday afternoon. And, you know, we've been definitely in communication with them, plus our surrounding directors. Today I was on a call with the director in Rutherford County. We were discussing a particular situation as it related to contractual services from contracted bus drivers. So I'm investigating that and checking on that. So, you know, it's a cooperative effort. We're using, you know, some of Rutherford County's plans that they put on that they're using with ELA like what we're doing. And so it's everybody, like Bonnie said, it's everybody working together through this crisis. And I appreciate everybody's hard work and all of our, everybody working very, very hard. In fact, I think our principals and other supervisors and EAs and cafeteria workers, we're working harder than we've ever worked before, even though we're closed. So when these people tell you that we're closed, we may be closed, but we're still at work. I'll put it that way.
Have we done anything to try to encourage physical activity? Has anybody talked to these kids and sent out anything to try to encourage? Because I know 90% of them are probably on Xbox and PlayStation and they're not getting outside.
I want to talk.
Okay, go ahead, Angela. Everybody's wanting to talk now. Angela, go ahead.
I want to shout out my PE teacher. She is posting daily videos for our students, and she goes through the complete lesson with them, and it's like guaranteed going to be on their Class Dojo every day. It's awesome. I'm like,
we have Go Noodle. Our kids are very familiar with Go Noodle, and I reached out to all the physical education teachers, nurses, and counselors, and they are working just as hard as the teachers are. And they're doing some amazing things. Pam Forrest is in charge of the physical education team. And if you know anything about Miss Pam, you know they're going to get it done. So they're covered, I believe.
I'm glad to hear that. Sounds like we're doing really exceptional for the circumstances that we're under. I was kind of worried about that. I was thinking about that. I said, well, we've got regular ed covered. What about our physical activity? And you guys are on top of that too. So I didn't even have to bring it up. Good job. Thank you. All right. Anybody else got any questions for Mr. Curtis? He's talking.
One of the other things too, Mr. Chairman, is the toolkits that are available. See, you know, I was going to say it. The toolkits are available through the state. The state has been doing a very good job with letting us know some things, although there's a survey out now that has been very controversial. Some of my friends in Nashville got with me on that today, and that is the state is, you know, when does the state actually change a survey? Well, they've changed it 3 times, by the way. And this latest survey got a lot of people's attention when the commissioner mentioned mandatory summer school and mandatory telework for students. That got a lot of people's attention, and that is to be determined. That's a TBD, to be determined. So I will be filling out that survey for the district. I will be doing that tomorrow, and I've been getting input from principals, input from our supervisors, particularly in the areas that they supervise, Mr. Kofer included, on our technology response. And it's a big, long survey, and I will get that back. I will get that to the Commissioner of Education tomorrow and get that completed in Cannon County's response. And you know, there's going to be federal money coming back our way. Ms. Mullins had a conference this afternoon about about what we think is coming from the federal, and what we've been told, it's encouraging. It could possibly be up to 90% of what we've received as entitled. If that comes to fruition, then we would get an additional $405,000 from the feds. But as you well know, Mr. Chairman and board members and supervisors, principals, when that money comes from the Fed, what happens? Strings are attached.
Paperwork.
And you have to paperwork. Yes, indeed. And yeah, I'm getting nods from from my supervisors. But you get the strings attached, and you know, it may be great that we maybe get $400,000, but I just can't spend that on salaries or whatever. We'll have to do paperwork after paperwork and say, this is how we responded to that. So
I've heard you say several times, any money sent your way, you're just gonna grab it, so.
absolutely. I know somebody said summer school, you know, if it's optional, guess what? We're gonna have summer school if we can, and I'll take every penny I can get from any source I can get.
All right, any more, Freddie, during the board meeting Thursday night, let's try to keep that at 3 minutes.
I will keep that to a minimum. I'll say I talked about it at the workshop. Mr. Sanders is going to be, or Mr. Cofer can unmute me.
I think you spent as much time on director's comments as we have the whole rest of the meeting.
I'm sorry. There's just a lot of comments. So I tell you, we have been working hard, but guess what? Notice what I said. I've been working hard. We've been working hard. Every single supervisor, every single principal, all of us in this school system in our school system has been working incredibly hard. When I get cafeteria workers going in there on a Sunday afternoon to get ready for a Monday morning, I can't say, I wish I could pay them time and a half. I really do.
Well, I'm going to keep my comments kind of short. I want to thank everyone for everything they're doing, the sacrifices they're making. These are uncharted waters. They literally are. We've never had to do anything like this. And you guys, Little Cannon County is knocking the ball out of the park right now. I'm impressed. And thank you, everybody. Thank you. Anybody got anything else? Anybody? Good. I'm done.
I'm good.
All right, guys. I'm leaving the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cofer. Mr. Cofer put all this together, so we need to thank Brian's been another one of his staff that's been working extra hard.
Thank you, Mr. Cofer. See
Thanks,
y'all.
everybody. Teamwork.